Hey everybody, what's up? This is Matthew Combs, creator of the Runes of Eve Expandable card game, here to take you through some more Tabletop Simulator stuff. The cards look great on Tabletop Simulator, as people are starting to see. Gameplay feels pretty easy, pretty intuitive, which is really nice, especially with all the updates we made. And today I wanted to go through, one of the starter or pre-con decks that we have on Tabletop Simulator, which is the Savages pre-constructed deck. And I want to take you through this build and, of course, the faction in general. This faction is meant to be the aggressive faction within the game. They're very passionate, and that's seen through the keyword that they have, which is Rage, which allows them to attack at the turn they enter play. But they also have a lot of really cool, unique cards and abilities that allows them to accomplish the goal of besting your opponent before they have the time to be able to take control of the game. And so to go through the list that we currently have constructed on Tabletop Simulator, I will go ahead and do that now. So the first thing is to start with is that the Savages, unlike a lot of the other factions, have a really strong, first three turns, and the ability to have a really strong first three turns because they have a lot of one-cost units, a lot of one-cost events. They have, good 2 costs, 3 costs, etc. And they have some of the best low cost cards in the game. Of course, if they're the aggressive faction, you want to make sure that on turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, you're spending all of your runes to be able to get more units into play. And so the first card to go over is Savage Call. Savage Call is just an event card that you can play during your action phase, and it allows you to create a Savage Warrior unit token with 1000 power, and then you may drop one to draw one. So card of very simple, very easy effect. All you do is during your action phase of your turn, you'll exhaust one Savage Rune, play Savage Call, and then resolve the text of the card, and then you'll put this card in the discard pile once it's used since it is an event card. The next card is 10 Ready for Battle. 10 is probably the premier one drop for the faction because 10 is just a 1 cost, 1000 power unit that has Rage. So even when you're going first and your opponent doesn't have anything in play yet, if you have turn 1, you can take the top card of your stockpile, put it into your resource area, pay 1 Savage Rune, play 10, and then 10 can actually attack during the action phase, which is very unique. This is the only card in the game that can do that on the first turn of the game and allows you to get off to a really strong start. For other 1-cost units, we have 10 Skilled Duelists, which 10 has a constant ability which is pretty unique, which is units being blocked by this unit lose and can't gain Overwhelm this turn. And Overwhelm is a keyword in Runes of Eve that basically means if the attacking unit is only partially blocked, it still deals that damage to the defending player. So let's say you have a 3000 power unit that has the keyword Overwhelm. It gets blocked by a 1000 power unit. Well, then you're still going to break the top rune of their stockpile. And then that, of course, escalates if they have critical, devastate, etc. If they have critical and they're only partially blocked and have the keyword Overwhelm, they're going to do 2 damage. If they have devastate, they're going to do 3 damage, so on and so forth. And then additionally, on play, units with cost 4 or more can't block until your next startup. And this has a lock ability, which means that you have to use the effect. That's one thing in Runes of Eve is that we make it so all effects are optional unless they have that lock next to it, which means it has to happen. And this says units with cost 4 or more can't block until your next startup. So that impacts both players and makes it so you can kind of get through and best your opponent's larger units or stop them from blocking with their larger units so you can continue to push damage through. The next card for the faction is probably the most important card in the faction, and a lot of times you live and you die by this card, but it's the mythic unit Mara the Untamed, which Mara is a 2-cost unit, costs 2 Savage Runes, and has Rage. It can attack the turn it's played, and Critical, which means that if it's not blocked and it breaks runes from a stockpile, it breaks 2 instead of 1. And then on attack, target unit gains plus 1000 power until end of turn, and she can target herself. So she can come down and be a 2-cost 2500 power unit and get in for critical damage, or trade off with one of your opponent's weaker blockers and then still remain on the field for the next turn. So again, probably the most important card for the faction and kind of truly captures the spirit of the faction. Then we have Danny Combat Genius as our other 2-cost unit, which Danny also has Rage, can attack the turn it enters play. And then Constant, whenever this unit breaks an ancient rune, you may drop one to cancel its effects. And that brings me to, the importance of the difference in this game versus other games is that when you're attacking your opponent, you're actually attacking their stockpile, which is both their resource and their life. And you have ancient runes in your stockpile. And whenever an ancient rune gets broken, you get to resolve the effect of that card at absolutely no cost to you. So this gives you a way to interact with that. So for instance, intellects have an ancient rune where if they either pay the cost for it or it gets broken, they can bounce one of your units back to your hand. And so this allows you to kind of cancel that effect, which is really cool. Then we have A 2-cost unit, another one. This is a tech choice on my end. Definitely not one of the most popular choices, but I just like to have it. Sid Reckless Savage is a 2-cost unit, costs 2 specified Savage runes, and has a removed effect with the lock symbol, of course, so it has to happen. You deal 2,000 damage to target unit. And the reason why it has the lock is that, let's say the only unit on the field is just Sid and another one of your units. If Sid gets removed, well, then you have to deal 2,000 damage to that unit that's left over. But in general, Sid trades with larger um, units the majority of the time because of that deal 2,000 damage to target unit ability, and it stacks really well with your other removal effects. So I really like Sid in the deck. And then we have Max Death Dealer. Max is a 3,000 power unit, costs 3, 2 Savage runes, and as a constant, as long as an opponent controls 3 or more runes, and that means in their resource area, this unit has Rage. And then whenever this unit breaks a rune, deal 3,000 damage to target unit. Max is a very powerful card that has to be dealt with the turn that it's played. So, for instance, if you're the Savage player and you're going first and you play this on turn 3, you're not going to be able to attack with it because your opponent only has 2 runes in play at the time. But your opponent is forced to have to deal with Max on the next turn. Otherwise, they're either going to be forced to block Max because they don't want a unit to take 3,000 damage unnecessarily, or they're just going to, get blown out by the card because he'll get to deal a damage by breaking the top rune of the stockpile and then dealing 3,000 damage to any target unit on the field. So again, really powerful card that the opponent has to deal with. Sliding back over, we can go to some event cards. We have Savage Slice, which is a 2-cost event card that can be played during your action phase, and it deals 2,000 damage to target unit, then deal an additional 1,000 damage to that unit for every three runes a controller has in play. A big thing about Savage Slice is it costs 2, but only 1 Savage specified rune, which is really good because this card is really splashable in other archetypes and is probably one of the best removal effects in the entire game. So really, really cool to have this card in here, and I think it's a 3 of, no matter what build you're playing of Savages. The card is just too good at any stage of the game. Then we have the Way of the Savages. The Way is probably one of our newest additions to the faction itself and also the game. The Way cards essentially are just cards that embody the strength of the faction and kind of capture that spirit and have it play out. And this is a 3-cost event card that has Quick, so you can see those lightning bolt indicators, which means it can be played at any time, either your turn, your opponent's turn, etc. But this one specifically states that a target attacking unit gets plus 2,000 power and overwhelm until end of turn. So this is one of those cards that helps you close out games because, let's say, for instance, you have to deal that last point of damage to your opponent and they have a blocker in play. Well, you can pay 3, play Way of the Savages, and then boost up your unit by 2,000 power, and it gets overwhelmed. So it means if it's partially blocked, it'll still deal that damage, which is really powerful. Then going on to the higher cost units, we have Dak Overpowering Rage, another 3-cost unit, but I really love Dak because he has that keyword Overwhelm, and then also has a play ability. You can pay 1 to have this unit gain plus 1,000 power and Rage until end of turn. So he could either be a 3-cost unit, or you can play him on turn 4 and have a really powerful threat, by having a 4,000 power unit with Rage with Overwhelm until the end of the turn. So it's very powerful. We then have Ren Savage General. Ren is a really high value card. Savages do have a token theme, and Ren kind of plays that out throughout the course of any time you play her on the field or during a game. She has a constant effect where unit tokens you control are plus 1,000 power, so it makes your tokens stronger. And then when removed from play, which remove means if it leaves play for any reason, you can draw 1 and then create a Savage Warrior unit token with 1,000 power. So Ren is great because she's a really good blocker, she's a really good attacker, because if she happens to get removed from play for any reason, you're going to get a bonus for it. Then we have Kato Savage Spirit. This is actually one of the Savage Ancients that you'll read about in the lore. And a big reason why Ren actually, found the runes themselves and got them to be able to get to her people. But he is a Savage unit with 4 specified Savage runes to be able to interplay, and has Rage, so it can attack the turn it's played. And then attack, you can drop 1, which means discarding a card from your hand, and then choose 1. Target unit gets plus 2,000 power until end of the turn, or deal 2,000 damage to target unit. Kados is a very powerful card, but as you can see, he's only 3,000 power, so you can either make him larger or make another one of your units larger, or just deal damage to pick things off. And again, it's one of those must-kill kind of threats. So when Savages are in the driver's seat and they have that perfect curve of turn 1 Rage threat, turn 2 Mara, turn 3 powerful card, turn 4 Kados, they really put the pressure on you, and Kados is just a great card to continue driving that home. Then we have Mara Savage Savior. which again has Rage. And then Constant, if you control 3 or less cards in your hand, Savage units you control are plus 1,000 power, and that's on both players' turns at all times. And that's one thing you notice about the Savage faction is they do have a wanting or a willingness to reduce the amount of cards in their hand to be able to get these certain types of bonuses. And so Mara is kind of the payoff for that. And attack, you can drop one to play target event from your discard pile without paying its cost, then exile that event. So of course the combos, right? So you have Mara Savage Savior, and then if you have Savage Slice or Way of the Savages in your discard pile, that's a ton of value. So again, Mara is just a really powerful card. And there's some builds where you can actually just top the whole entire build of Savages out at just Mara 5. But me, I'm really hard-headed. I come from playing other games where you just play your best cards all the time. So that leads us to our 6 cost unit, which is Rune, Harbinger of Rage. Again, token themed. So unit tokens you control are plus 1,000 power and have Overwhelm. And then action, create 2 Savage Warrior unit tokens, each with 1,000 power. And action abilities are things that you can do during your action phase and are a once per turn ability. You can do them just at any time that you would normally play a unit or an event card. So instead of playing unit or event card, you can use an action and then create 2 Savage Warrior unit tokens with 1,000 power. So again, very powerful and allows you to swarm the board and take over before your opponent has the opportunity to recover. So again, Savage is really, really powerful faction overall. And then I guess we can move on to our runes, right? So the ancient runes are always fun to look at. So you get to play 9 of them. We're playing 3 Ancient Rune of Determination, which is broken. So when it's put into your damage pile from your stockpile, you can resolve this effect without paying its cost. And then has an action ability where you can pay 3 and then flip this rune face down. And once it's flipped face down in your resource area, it acts as a generic resource throughout the rest of the game, so it's not specified colored and can't pay for specified cost. The chosen unit can't be blocked by units with higher power until the end of until your next end phase. So again, this is you interacting with your opponent in a way where you're just stopping them from being able to block you, so you can deal the last points of damage. Very powerful card. Then we have Ancient Rune of the Brash, which same effect with broken, and then action, you can pay 2, flip it face down. Exile 3 cards from a discard pile. If you exile cards from your discard pile this way, restore a Savage unit with cost 2 or less. Restore means returning the card from your discard pile to your hand. You have the Ancient Rune of Desperation, which has action, pay 3, flip this rune face down. And then if your opponent has more units than you, deal 2,000 damage to target unit. And then we have the Ancient Rune of Dedication. Action, pay 2, flip this rune face down and destroy a unit control. Create a Savage Warrior unit token with 1,000 power, then draw 1. Which I love this card because it's a really cool way to give your cards, pseudo vigilance. So where it's like they don't, have to exhaust to attack. It's really good when you have a token in play because you can just target the token, draw a card, create a new token, and then the best combo, of course, is when you use it in conjunction with Rune Savage General. When Rune is removed from play, you draw 1, then create a Savage Warrior unit token. So if you use Ancient Rune of Dedication, either as an action ability or if it gets broken and you target your Rune Savage General, you actually draw 2 cards and create 2 tokens, which is really powerful. And then without further ado, I just want to go over the last cards that are available for the faction that weren't used when building this deck. We have Danny Boastful, who has play and the lock symbol, so it means you must do it if you control 3 or less runes. Exhaust this unit on play, but it's 2,000 power. Savage Surprise, which is probably one of my favorite cards in the game. It's a quick event, which means it can be played at any time. Cost 2, 1 Savage Rune. You can create a Savage Warrior unit token with 1,000 power, and then if you control 3 or more unit tokens, draw 1. So again, if you wanted to play like a token-themed deck, you would play this card. Send the Rallier, same thing, where it's token-focused. So on play, create a Savage Warrior unit token. And then action, so during your action phase, you can use this at the same time you'd play in a unit or an event card. You can pay 2 and destroy a unit you control to deal 2,000 damage to target unit, and that includes you can choose tokens, which is neat. We then have Cal Savage Mentor, which is play, rummage 5, so that means looking at the top 5 cards for a unit with cost 2 or less and play it. If that unit is a savage unit, that unit gains plus 1,000 power and rage until end of the turn. So that means you can play this in other factions too if you're playing a lot of 2-cost units and you just want to play like multicolor. So that's really fun. And you have Dak Rage Incarnate, who has Overwhelm, very powerful effect. And then play, target 2 units you control. Those units gain plus 1,000 power and Overwhelm until end of the turn. So again, another way for you to push through. So if you wanted to trim on some other cards and play any of these, you certainly could. They're just going to be available in that giant stack of cards over here. which is just all the cards that exist in the game right now. But anyway, that was just a overview of Savages. Sorry if that took a really long time. Thank you so much for sticking with me. And if you continue to enjoy content like this, or are checking out Tabletop Simulator and looking to get a game, please reach out to us. Hit us up on Discord. There'll be a link down below. But anyway, thanks for watching. Okay, thanks. Bye!